Welcome to the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast, where we talk all things Panther City Lacrosse Club. Now here are your hosts, Nicholas and Andy.
Well, coming off a bye week, Panther City looks to get back in their winning ways against Las Vegas, and some players are in the top 30 rank. Welcome, everyone. This is the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast, where we talk all things Panther City. I'm Nicholas, joined by Andy.
Hello.
And we're getting, coming off of a bye week. I'm sure, I don't know if you pay attention to a lot of the players on social media, but a lot of them were able to hang at home, spend some time with their pets, with their families. Some even took in some Mavericks games during that time. So it was good to see the team kind of have a good bye week to, like you said, rest up and get ready for this weekend's game. But how was your bye week?
Yeah, it was pretty nice actually. I kept up with the scores of some of the other West games that were going on. Of course, the outcomes weren't quite what I would have wanted overall, but it was pretty good. And like you said, it was nice to see some of the members of the team kind of engage with other sports that we've got going on in the Metroplex.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it definitely lets them kind of see, different things going around the DFW area. Yeah, speaking about those games, I know things didn't go kind of according to what we were hoping, but it still kind of sat in our favor. So, Panther City coming off of their last win 2 weeks ago, were, sitting in third place, Saskatchewan right behind them, and then Colorado right behind them. And so, obviously you want somebody to knock off either, the top two teams, either Calgary or San Diego. San Diego is going to be always, we've been talking about them since the beginning of the year. They're always going to be the harder one to knock off this year. But I still think things kind of went our way in a way to think about, or in a sense of manner. So Saskatchewan loses and Colorado lose, which actually secures our third spot even a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a case of like, I can't be too greedy because any outcome that happened does help us in the long run, whether it's moving up a little bit or trying to solidify our spot. Now, I think the time is definitely to try to string a nice win streak together so we can hopefully catch Calgary. Who knows with San Diego? They're pretty up there, but anything can happen.
Right, and even San Diego has had some struggles a bit against some teams this year. So we still have 2 more games against them. We still have 2 more games against Calgary. I mean, crazier things have happened, but
yes,
like this is gearing up to be some important games coming up down the stretch for the rest of the season. I think Calgary. I mean, we can obviously talk about those games when they come up to them, but we talked about it before. Del Bianco. I mean, he's the highlight of the team as far as from a defense and goalie standpoint. So I think that's gonna be really hard for us to, score on that team and stay consistent. And then with San Diego, I mean, we've already played them once, and that was a hard fought game. But like you said before, we didn't have the pieces that we have now.
Right. That was, I know Crawford definitely sat out that game. Caputo was hurt, if I'm not mistaken. So going into California, not full strength and still losing a closely contested game was, I think there were definitely positives to take away from there. Calgary, since we haven't played them, I'm really curious to see how our defense holds up against their transition game and Del Bianco initiating the offense.
Yeah, and Del Bianco, he's I mean, obviously talked about on a national standpoint, just because he's honestly in the running for MVP even this year. Like, forget goalie of the year, he's in the running for MVP. So he's having that kind of a season, and if we want to stand a chance against them, I mean, that's definitely an area we need to focus on and trying to get those scores and get those second chances, because I think you pointed out last show. I mean, he's very good at like blocking shots, but then passing it down to his teammates and almost like an extra offensive player.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll go into the player rankings in a little bit more detail, but him and Zach Courier are both ranked within Lax Magazine's top 10 players so far this season. And Courier is a transition player. So you know that he's a direct beneficiary of what Del Bianco is able to do.
Well, and yeah, we can go ahead and talk about that. So yeah, Del Bianco's at 4. So this is all according to the Lax magazine. You can find them on any social media and online as well. But yeah, Del Bianco's at 4, and then like you said, Zach Courier's at 9. It just kind of shows that there's two heavy hitters, and they're not even on offense.
Right.
So I don't know. You look at the top 10, you have Ford, 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 goalie, Ford, Ford, goalie, Ford, transition, Ford. So when your top 10 is usually offense heavy, it's definitely interesting to see transition and goalie on the same team in that
Yeah,
top 10.
absolutely. Hmm.
Well, and so speaking of that top 10, I mean, we have one player that has definitely been creeping up the top 10 all year. He started out at number 10 about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I think every week he's just kind of moved up in spots. That's of course Will Malcolm. He's at number 6 this week in the rankings. Again, he's another offensive weapon that's sitting there, kind of in the MVP discussion for this year. And it's good that I'll admit, it's good that he plays for Panther City.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely even with Crawford and some of the additions and changing roles that players have had this season. Malcolm's been the steady Eddie in terms of both scoring and setting up his teammates. It seems like whenever we need something to happen, he's there either setting something up or just going to work by himself on that right side.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's his consistency that has, helped him go up these ranks pretty much every week. And so it's good to see him getting some national recognition. I mean, any good recognition for him or the team on a national level is always good because it shows that we're striving for the best. We're striving for that playoff spot, and we're coming after the title for sure. We're definitely gonna. I feel like Panther City as a whole is definitely like a team, you know, that other teams are going to have to deal with. And I understand that you can talk about like Las Vegas is a team that teams are going to have to deal with, and they're just now getting going where teams are going to have to deal with them. But it's almost like we're a little bit of a thorn in the side of a lot of these teams, and we're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of served that purpose last year with Colorado, even though they went on to win the title. And then
Yeah.
that just, like, even though Colorado won the season series this year, you could tell there was some there's definitely a rivalry brewing between those two teams. And
Oh yeah.
so just the longer that we're in the league and playing these other teams in really competitive games, especially the upper echelon ones,
Hmm.
it's really going to make for some exciting lacrosse.
Oh yeah. Well, and speaking of rivalry, so they were talking about this weekend's slate of games. They were talking like it's rivalry week, and everybody's like these are the rivals that are going against each other. And I will admit there are some good games this week that are obviously rivals. I don't know if Panther City and Las Vegas is considered a rivalry yet. I think it has the makings of one because they were obviously came in very close to each
Yeah,
other, and they're obviously having some similar first years. You can obviously tell that they're having success and really clicking the same time we were last year. So, but I don't know. Do you consider that a rivalry yet?
I think it could become one. You've got these back-to-back expansion teams that are following a similar trajectory. Both Panther City last year and Las Vegas this year started out kind of in the doldrums and then went on nice little win streaks to inch closer to 500. They never quite got over that hump. Granted, Las Vegas might, depending,
Hmm.
but you can still see that they're playing hard every game, and eventually the fruits of their labor are going to show. If not this season, then who knows? Maybe as soon as next season.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see
And
how
we'll
that
definitely,
develops.
yeah, we'll definitely talk about them here in a little bit. But I did want to go back real quick to just the player rankings.
Hmm.
There is one person I did want to point out. I mean, again, I put appreciation post every week and every opportunity I can. Nick Damoud coming in at number 30 as the
Yes.
top 30 player in the NLL according to Lax magazine. Hey, two players. Come on, top 30.
Yeah, and I if he would probably be my pick for that second spot, honestly. Him or possibly Donville. But yeah, it's pretty nice to see him up there.
Well, and so we were kind of talking about these rankings, and I had mentioned to you that at number one, and you said you had some issues, so I'm gonna let you kind of sound off real quick. Jeff Teat was number one.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe this is a little bit of my bitterness coming out at Dodd's losing Rookie of the Year to him last season. But Jeff Teets, he's leading the league in points, he's leading the league in goals, and he's second in assists. So those are outstanding numbers. However, the Riptide's more or less in the East Division cellar, and I don't want to call those stats empty calories because, especially in a game like box lacrosse, where for the most part, you're only playing one side of the ball unless you're a transition guy. But I do think that takes off a bit of the luster from his statistics. So I don't think I would personally rank him at number one. You could argue like, well, if he wasn't on the team, then the Riptide wouldn't have any wins. It's like, well, be that as it may, they only have 3 with him. So I would want to see kind of if he truly is a one-man wrecking crew, I'd like to see the Riptide's record a bit closer to 500.
Right, we've seen this year the Riptide have traded away some players. They've gotten some draft picks in the coming years, so they're planning on a good future and trying to build up around him. But yeah, I agree. Maybe not number one, but he's obviously a good player, and they're planning on building around him for the years to come.
Absolutely, yeah. He definitely does deserve to be in the mix. Just for me personally, and what I look at in the whole spectrum of a team game, I don't know that he would be my number one.
Right. Well, in that case, then I mean, you could just move Will Malcolm up a few more spots, I think.
Yeah,
Hey, you never know. After this weekend, if he has a good game, we might see Will Malcolm up there at number 5 or number 4.
indeed.
Um, but anyway, so I mean, it's just interesting to see kind of the player rankings, see where we stand, see again the people who are in the MVP race are in the top 10. That's no surprise. So as the year kind of winds down and we're down this slope towards the end, it'll be interesting to see what players kind of outshine the others. But speaking about rankings, of course we talked about at the beginning. Panther City sitting at third in the third place. There's a chance that they can move ahead over the next few games, but it all starts with this weekend. It starts with our third game against Las Vegas, and this is a Las Vegas team that isn't the same. I mean, we faced them the first 2 games. They are not the same team. They are not the same Las Vegas Desert Dogs that we saw at the beginning of the season. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's definitely, I feel like they've definitely got some experience under their belt to where they won't be as rattled as they were, particularly in that second game. In the first one, they came out like gangbusters against us and really, really fought closely. But this time around, they've got that experience. They're probably the early season jitters, expansion team jitters out. That being said, we're not quite the same team that they faced either.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I mean, uh, as the season went on, we definitely kind of found our footing more, but so did they. I mean, Vegas is coming in 4-7. They have wins against Vancouver. They even got a win against Colorado. So again, you
Nice.
can't really say too much bad about them on that end. And honestly, they just like us, they had a really hard fought game against San Diego, which we talked about at the beginning of the month. Was that outdoor game at Snapdragon Stadium? So they're definitely putting the pieces together for this little stretch here that they're and mathematically they're not eliminated. Like
Right.
no teams are eliminated yet. Well, maybe one of them, but as far as I know, mathematically no teams have been eliminated yet, and that includes Vegas. I mean, if they can play their cards right, no pun intended. But if they play them right, they could have a chance to get that 4 spot.
Yeah, especially given how inconsistent Saskatchewan and Colorado have been playing as of late. Granted, Colorado beat us, but Yeah. There's definitely room for movement. They're only a game back on both Colorado and Saskatchewan.
Hmm.
So, unfortunately, can't cheer for them too hard, considering
Yeah.
we're playing them next.
I mean, I will say they're my pocket. Hey, good luck to them kind of team.
Hmm.
Just again, it's the whole underdog mentality. Like new team, have I think they're definitely have a good culture going on, especially with their home games. But yeah, speaking of Panther City, I mean, we're coming off of a really good game, a really you know, good offensive game against Saskatchewan, where our second and third quarters were pretty much some of the best quarters we played all season. And thank goodness too, because again, we gave up some garbage time goals. Hopefully that's something they worked on, in their bye week or something they focused on. But yeah, we're coming off of a win against Saskatchewan that really kind of put us even more on the map and put us in that third spot even more.
Yeah, absolutely. If they can carry that momentum from 2 weeks back to Saturday, it'll really count for a lot. Oh, and another thing about Desert Dog, not to harp on this, but I noticed they didn't have. I don't believe they have any players ranked in the top 30. So that's kind of like, oh well, that's kind of unfortunate. But at the same time, credit to them for playing hard every game because
Hmm.
they don't have quite have that top heavy talent that a lot of these other teams that are solidly in the playoff race have.
Well, and even compared to us from last year, at least we had some really veteran good players. We had obviously who ended up being our coach of the year or the coach of the year for NLL. But also we had an amazing rookie in Dodds,
Right.
and that really helped us last year. And so yeah, like to your point, I mean, for them to be able to get these wins and fight hard in a lot of these games, I mean, it says a lot because they are really putting things together still.
Mhm. Yeah. They're still figuring things out, and we're just lucky that they didn't have that stuff figured out those first 2 games. And hopefully, we'll have things a little bit more figured out come Saturday.
Well, of course, we're going to look forward to this game against Las Vegas. Predictions for this game. Ooh. Again, this isn't the same Vegas team. I really feel like this game is going to be closer to that home opener, that first game against them, where it's going to be very close. I still I still believe we're obviously the better team, but I don't know how much. I don't know. It's weird because it seems like we have played down to some competition this year, and I don't want
Yeah,
us to
that
do.
is true.
I don't want us to do that this time, and we shouldn't because if we do this game, I really fear that could end up in a loss. I don't know. What do you think?
Las Vegas is much improved, and they should put up a better fight than they certainly did in that second game of the season. However, we do have a guy by the name of Callum Crawford now who was not part of the team those first 2 games. So I think that as well as Panther City hitting a stride of their own, I'm expecting us to win, not exactly in a blowout, but pretty solidly.
Okay. So, prediction for score. What's your prediction for this one?
I'll go 14-9.
14-9.
Yeah, I'm hoping Damien can limit them to single digits. We shall see, though.
Well, I definitely don't think we're going to hold them as low as single digits as we did when we were in Vegas.
No, yeah, certainly not.
Um,
That'd be nice, but
yeah, and like I do like your point. Crawford wasn't there, and he is pretty much just changed the offense completely since the beginning of the year. So I'm gonna say Crawford has an oh ooh hang on. I'm gonna say Crawford has a sock trick, and
mm,
because again, this is a Vegas team that hasn't faced him yet. And video can only do so much. When you're on the field, it's a completely different thing. But I'm gonna say Crawford gets that sock trick that he tried to get about a month ago or so. So I'm gonna say Panther City. But I do think Vegas will come in and fight. So I'm gonna make it a little bit closer. I'm gonna say 19-13.
okay,
I mean, you
interesting.
you never know. Heck, the exact opposite could happen. That we could win like 5-4 or something.
Yeah,
But
I'm getting my goalies mixed up. I don't remember whether Vegas had the two rookie goalies or whether it was Vancouver. It might have been Vancouver.
Vancouver
Uh,
had the one. I think Vegas. I don't think. I think they have one too, but I don't know if he's their starter.
gotcha. Okay.
Um, yeah, it'll be very interesting because again, like you said, that dynamic with, and then also, I mean, at the beginning of the year, we didn't know like Donville was going to be such a key piece.
Right.
We didn't know Gaucher was going to take advantage of all of his minutes.
Hmm.
If people are healed up, I'm sure Grennan will be back out there. He'll be, pissing people off, and we obviously know Phil doesn't take nothing from nobody. So
Hmm.
I don't know. We've
Yeah,
already seen two fights against Vegas this year. I mean, will we see a third?
that's true. I feel like there's been enough of a gap between the games to where if there was any legit bad blood, that I don't know, that it would still be brimming at this point,
Mhm.
because I know our impression was kind of like, oh, they might be just trying to give the Vegas fans what they wanted since it was such a
Yeah.
blowout.
Well, and if we end up blowing them out again this time, who knows? It might happen again. But
Hmm.
well, yeah, I think we both pretty much agree a good win for hopefully for Panther City this weekend if we can play the game that we need to play. As long as we don't play down to them, I think we should be okay. Awesome. Well, any final thoughts on this game for this weekend?
Looking forward to it. Yeah, it's even though bye weeks it's only just 1 week off, it feels like a while, and it really gives you the itch as a fan to be like, okay, well, when's the next game I can go to or
Hmm.
see?
Well, yeah,
So
and bye weeks are good, but coming back is better. Well, quick mention: it is Scout Night this Saturday, so I'm sure they're gonna have a lot of different scout groups out there come supporting the team, so that'll be nice. And of course, if we can get this win, it inches us even closer in the rankings, and hopefully in securing that third spot. Well, as always, thank you everybody for listening this week. We look forward to the next home game this Saturday night against Las Vegas, hopefully coming out with a win. Once again, I am Nicholas,
once again, I am Andy.
and thank you guys for listening. Have a good night.
Cheers, y'all.